Laura, and I know you're excited. Our host is Laura Ribbons, and I know you're excited about our first guest.
You bet. Good morning. This is my mom. This is Marty Whitney. And we, our family has always been extremely active. But I think it's also important. I felt it's so important to bring and valuable to bring her on and share at 96 that sort of what's worked for her because we're all about longevity. I want people moving, I want them feeling good and living their life and with comfort. So I thought the pro here might have something to share.
All right, so we kind of go, Laura, with your first question for your mom.
Well, I want to know, Mom, Marty, what what you think has helped you get to where you are today.
I think there are several factors here. Number one, I'll try and do this and not get teary because I'm reminiscing here as I go. Number one, I was fortunate to be raised by a wonderful couple, my parents. We lived on a small farm, and this was during the Depression. And so, therefore, what we put in our mouths was clearly very carefully screened and provided in natural form. So I was fortunate in that sense. And then moving on, growing up, I was there was never any question about my work ethic. If you want something, well, how are you going to get it? Because of course we didn't have much money as a family. How are you going to get it? Well, you get out there and find a way to make some money. And I picked strawberries so I could get my first bicycle. I mean, it goes on and on from that. But the work ethic, it's interesting. I keep going back to it, and it's clearly part of being grounded for me as going forward with the political, cultural changes that I've lived through. Um, Somehow that's right there. And then the other big piece for me has been attitude and opportunity. And in spite of the current situation here in 2025, I've, of course, have seen the drama come and go, so much of it depending on where you are and who you with, um, and then trying to stay on top of the technological activity, which thank goodness my children can do because I'm still struggling. So basically, I guess I come back to the work ethic carried over in has carried over into my ongoing need, requirement for getting outdoors and being alive outdoors in the fresh air. That's key. And being the natural world has been in so many ways by religion, if you will. So I think all these points have helped and contributed. And of course, the big one is the love.
All right, so like, there's so many things to cover, Laura, and I'm going to ask basically one question that I think that both of you guys can answer about work ethic. I think that when you are able to wake up each day with a purpose, a mission of work. It doesn't matter what work it is, and you find it enjoyable and not boring and and you do it your very best. I think that helps your mental health tremendously. What are your thoughts?
Go for
Shall I go for
it.
it?
Yeah.
Somehow I have found it to be an automatic response when I get out of that bed in the morning and take care of natural needs. The very next thing I need to do, before I do anything is go through this series of exercises, if you will, that I've choreographed for myself that have worked and feel as if they've been working and are productive. And so it's just such a natural part of my day. I don't ask if I'm going to do it, it's just there. And do I get pleasure out of it? Well, perhaps, but it's more intention,
Mhm.
making sure that everything can still function.
And these are physical exercises.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm on the floor.
All right. See, Laura, did you learn that from your mom?
Well, you have to remember, as she said, this is her consistency is unbelievable. As we know, with anything we do, whether it's work, whatever. I mean, I've been down on the floor on my elbows doing a full plank with her and say, Mom, how long are we doing the plank for? And she goes, I don't know, until I get bored and go on to the next thing. So, her strength is unbelievable physically, and it's because of this. And I think the mental part that goes with, as she just said, with doing those exercises every morning it's just something that happens. It's not, you're not questioning it. That is key.
Wow. Okay. So, and that's interesting that, but you learned that from her? Yes or
I've
no?
learned so much from her. And now, mind you, we've got running races we've done together and the rest of it, but being active, when we grew up, we were not allowed to be outdoors. I mean, we're not allowed to be indoors unless the sun went down. So it was like, get out and be busy. So we grew up really understanding, number one, work ethic, but number two, just how it feels so good to be outside. That's sort of ingrained in us. And I think it started, we were kids and she would be outside going, oh, that sun feels so good. And as a result, we go, oh, that sun feels so good. And then it does feel so good. So yes, to answer your question, I would say 98% of what I have in my life, I've learned from her.
So that's fantastic. And let's just go to to outdoors. I'm just going to touch upon different topics, food topics, because these are things that ingrain what Laura Ribbons does as a
Mhm.
celebrity trainer, coach, everything that you learned from your mother. And I find this so fascinating because my late father, I look at a lot of what I learned from his work ethic. I also learned specifically enough, leadership, being on time for things, never being late, always not giving up regardless of the circumstances. I learned
Mhm.
that from my father. So kind of hearing this is interesting because you learn from one parent and you model a lot of those things and it just becomes
Mhm.
just it's a lifestyle. Now let's talk about outdoors. Why outdoors? Here's a really sad thing. High school kids and most kids today do not go outdoors at all. They'll do their activities. They might be scheduled in sports and different things, but they're indoors. And when they're home, they're in their bedrooms. This is the new norm. It's got to be horrible for their mental health. And what does the outdoors give you? I want this question for both of you guys. It's kind of how we figured and structured this podcast today. But Laura, your fans need to know more and more about who you are, what
Mhm.
makes you, and then learning from your mom. Go ahead.
I have to I come back to the word grounded. Uh, it helps me when I go out and look at my trees or just spread my arms, breathe, whatever. Um, it's different. I'm not listening to anybody's voice. I'm listening to whatever nature's telling me, the bird or the flower or the tree. I'm sort of sharing I feel like I'm sort of been invited into their world. And there's so much going on. And that in nature, in our natural environment. This is the thing. And if you're at all curious, then bingo, there you go. You're into it 100%.
Doing a walk with a loved one, being able to be outdoors with your children, being able to experience things where you're not indoors, it totally changes the way you feel. And that's why I like warmer climate. I'm not in the warmer climate now, but when I was living in Texas, it was phenomenal because heck, there was mostly sunny days. Pittsburgh, there's no sunny days. Thank goodness in Northeast Ohio, there is going to be more sunny days, but it's cold. You kind of get that outdoors feeling. One thing I'm doing is I'm looking at the winter as a time where now I'm trying to get cold at times, almost like a plunge. I will wear shorts outside to go and do my walks, and I feel a different vibe when I'm doing my walks going out in the cold and then sometimes being in warmth. It just being outdoors just it kind of triggers something. Even my short walks I do with my dog Chewy, I see that. Laura, that's that outdoorsness is why you're structured your very successful business because of swimming and everything. You're outdoors in the Caymans. I'm sure that really makes you feel different, right?
We know,
Gives you,
Neil, I think my mom just pointed out a very good thing, and the word that we haven't used this word, but and even you just said with outside with your shorts and whatever. Of course, physiologically, your body's acting a little differently, warm versus cold, but it's about being present and going out, not whether you're
Yes.
by yourself, being present in that moment with your eyes, luckily, if you have eyesight, being the lucky ones, to really absorb and see and do you notice details? Are you listening? Wasn't it interesting how that tree is swaying over to one side? I wonder why that is. And the curiosity is the word my mom just used. We're meant to be curious, and that's stifled a lot, unfortunately. So to directly answer your question, to go outside, what does it give us? Like right now, it's snowing like crazy here.
oh my
And
goodness.
we will go outside. Now, it could be just on our deck to help sweep off or shovel off the snow. But to get that fresh air, to breathe it in our bodies is physiologically good for us. Number one. Number two, the being present. And even in a city, I've got a couple of friends when I see their recordings talking to me walking down the street of New York. When I was in New York recently, walking and enjoying it, even though it was really cold, to notice, to be present enough to notice details.
Yeah.
What are those people looking like? How
Mhm.
are they? And we're all so busy, and it's so easy in today's world to get busy and not be present that when you do appreciate being present, you're like, God, it's extremely gratifying.
But it's interesting to think of, to reframe perhaps with the word present, because it was an assumption just by being out there, to put a word on it, a name on it. It was just such a natural thing, has always been natural for me.
That's great. So we've touched upon two major things so far in this interview. One is definitely work, to have a joy of work, to be able to work hard and to have a purpose to get up. And then you're working out. So you've even talked about work ethic and working out. And we touched up the importance of outdoors. What do you also think is longevity? What other longevity secrets have we not talked about yet, or we want to kind of cover? Because you covered so much in the first question that I want to kind of dive deeper with both of you based on that.
I think perhaps hope is alive and well with me. And recently, a wonderful person on air used the expression, hope is a muscle. And the thought of that muscle, if it is indeed hope, you've got to use it.
Yeah.
And you've got to keep pushing forward with that muscle. That'll help you, take you out of the depressive, negative state and move on. Because you have no control over so much of what's going on. But perhaps you have control, well, you definitely have control over yourself and what you're doing, and move forward.
Yeah. You have the ability. Now, some people think of it, as you can attract things by you have the ability to have hope. You have the ability to change things, even though things look horrible, and be able to get back. That's where your mental health goes. And I think you added those components, having working hard, getting up and working, and not complaining, and putting a hard work ethic. You talk about specifically enough also about working out. That's going to change your endorphins, your brains, and make your brain start to embody feel good. So you're not going to get those as much sadness points. You're going to have some sort of hope. And then when you go outside, especially where you live, oh
Yeah.
my, you definitely have nature, you have beauty, and it changes your outlook. So each day is a different day. Laura, those are really successful traits, right? To get healthy
Yes, and I
and
think
live
you
on.
also went back, you also mentioned, Neil, about for people, like my mom said, she wakes up and she has a purpose, but she also, her through her perception, looks forward to her day. And it can be a day of an excitement. It could be a day of, more of the hope aspect, but looking forward to enjoying your day. And then the one thing that when I'm working with clients, that's what I'm listening to. And listening seriously, when you're outside by yourself, you're listening. But listening as an art is something we're all trying to revisit. But that's the key, right? To be able to listen. What is someone really saying, whether it's through their body language and how can we, through our passion of wellness, get people to move, find hope as something that is a muscle being worked, have a purpose, and just have joy, and to be able to stop and enjoy the joy.
How
Because
do you keep that joy through even the hard times? That question should go to both of you guys. I mean, I honestly could tell you I have a lot of all-time highs as an entrepreneur, and I have a lot of all-time lows. The good news is the lows are quick, and I'm able to really quickly, maybe some days you get sleep a little longer, get up, and it's gone. It's not like a long-term everyday grind of that. I stay on the high most of the time. But I think it's because of my lifestyle and what I do. But to asking about, and that's something to look at longevity as well. If you don't have a purpose of something that you want to do and get up every day, you're going to die when you're old. That's the truth.
Well, and the word joy is I respect it and honor it, but it's not something that I feel as often as frequently as I do the hope, that sense of hope and moving forward and response. The joy can be more elusive, but of course, when it happens, it's so quick. You think, oh, so it takes your breath away.
Yeah, because we're going to go through a lot of crap in our lives, and we never know when it's going to happen and when it's going to
No,
hit us and
that's
when
what's
it's going to change and how do we, and that's, I guess, part of health. Because Laura, that's your job.
Mm.
What you do for others is not just help them physically, but mentally because of the physical exercise. And your mom talks about secret to longevity, working out every day. I wonder how many people live longer lives if they work out every day, do
Oh,
some sort of exercise.
and
What?
Neil, if I may interject, I don't consider it working out. I'd be careful of the verb working out in some sense, in because it feels so natural to me.
Oh, mhm.
I bring that up just because I'm so sensitive to the use of words.
Hmm. Okay. And that sometimes the word work is defined incorrectly as well. Because work is anything that I don't want to go in scientifically because I'm not ready to prepare myself to definition of work. The definition of work is doing anything with some sort of energy. We're doing that's work.
Well,
So it can be
it's the energy.
the energy.
Yeah,
Yes. So energy and me physically picking up this pen, I just did work. Me
yeah.
picking up this coffee, I did work. So the way work is defined in science, and I am not to pull that up. So basically, I guess you're active. Instead of using the word workout, you get active when you get up in the morning, even before you start to maybe clean, cook, do any of those things. So your body is ready for whatever the day is going to bring for you. And
yes.
Laura, you do that every day, right? Are you at least doing some sort of stretching or anything when you wake up from the right first thing in the morning?
Yes. But Neil,
None which I could replicate, all of them.
but it's the balance, right? And I must say, as I observe my mom, and total, we're all in total envy of her, is that she finds that balance, and she does put the me before the we. She she maybe gets up in the morning, has a routine. So you've already seen some physical activities from, and it could also be mental activity at the same time. Keep that in mind. Just her she's using breathing, she's writing down in a journal, but and she's well read. She takes time to be updated on what's going on in the world and finds things of interest, and even knows when to take a quick cat nap to restore her batteries. But even if it's just putting your head down for 10 minutes. And that balance, that's one thing I strive, and I have a passion for helping people find, because that's it, right? They can, all these words with the work and the exercise and we need to find balance in all of it.
And she's moving.
Yeah.
Movement, as we talked about in the first podcast, and the inaugural podcast, we talked about movement. And I'm so glad my radio show gets the opportunity to hear these different things, because this is where my life was transformed, where I hit rock bottom, but then started to get healthy, started to change and transform my life to reverse my aging. And we can reverse our aging. We can. Or slow down the aging process. And it's amazing what we're going to be able to accomplish. And I'm not going to get into the craziness of technology and how long we could live. So it's some of the things that are happening now technologically, I don't even want to get to, because I've had conversations on my pod about that. But let's go. So if I didn't miss any of these, we talked about, work ethic. We talked about specifically enough outdoors, a sense of spirituality, hope that there's something in some sort of way. What other areas of longevity that both of you use to keep yourselves continually active and just really present? Because you talked about that, the energy, that presence, which is working its way too.
The word opportunity, I don't know if I used it yet, but that it's sort of I don't know if you're a sailor, but it's sort of like a tiller. You're in your sailboat and you want to go this way. Well, opportunity is there. And so with every negative piece, okay, that means I won't be able to do that anymore. But what might I be able to do? And in lieu of what I've been doing.
Yeah.
So opportunity has been a key word for me, particularly since I've lost my husband. So, that changes, of course, your life. And so I'm on my own kind of thing, regardless of my love of my family. But it's the opportunity. Is there anything there that I could do?
I think, and so I want to get to the opportunity right now. And Laura, I know that it's kind of me interviewing both of you, but I think it really has fed in this interview, because I'm just so blown away. It's really started my Saturday off with a lot more hope of what opportunity at 96, 97, is it correct?
96 and a half.
96. She's going to be 120 or more. Get ready for what's about to happen health wise.
Please, no.
Okay. What opportunity do you put in every day? Give us what do you use as opportunity every day to get up, especially after losing a loved one, to still be able to have a day, enjoy your day, do the things. What opportunity do you pops in your head that defining that word opportunity?
Well, as I sort of program my day, if you will, I find what gives me pleasure, and that defines when I do things. The opportunity to play, literally be entertained by what I can find on the internet, is minimal. I'd much rather see what I can find in literature and reading. Well, my eyes still barely work, but they still work, thank goodness. Uh, so I'm apt to read. The opportunity to be able to read is key for me. I'm blessed on that one, big time. And as I hear other people's schedules, what opportunities might poke their little heads up, what might
Right.
be, what, so I have to think of it in terms of my own self because I'm living independently. If I may have to reframe what I'm going to eat and think, well, for goodness sake, Marty Whitney, this is an opportunity to see what you can do with whatever food item you might have in the refrigerator. I mean, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
A
And
lot of,
that's what makes life fun.
well, and it's energy, how much energy am I spending on, how much energy do I have left after I take care of myself with all the little
Mm-hmm.
pill things that you've got to have. Um, so
Opportunity. That I'm gonna utilize that's a word that needs to go on some people's walls every day. What opportunities they have to do something different that they've never done before, what opportunities they have to make it joy for someone else in their lives, and what opportunity can they feel fulfilled in some sort of
or
way
change, opportunity to change.
and change.
Yes, instead of always doing A at X number of minutes, what about trying something else? I mean, that's all
Yeah.
part of a positive push
So Laura, how would you say you use opportunity in your day?
Well, what's really interesting is because of that mindset, I find even when in the workplace, say for example, someone comes around the corner and says, I'm out of here, I'm sick, I can't work today, and it's like the busiest day. I've never been one to look at that and say, as a negative thing, okay, here are the facts, they can't be here. It's an opportunity for something else to happen. What am I going to do instead? And so I instantly think how I'm not going to fix it, but how am I going to go forward now that I don't have that person? I've never had the mindset of saying, of spending any energy as the major word in the negative part of they can't be there. It's okay, can't be here. Good. I'll talk to you later about why you're sick. What can I do to move forward? And I think opportunity to in everything,
Yeah,
like, oh,
I love it.
it's such a great word.
And that's where you have to have a joy of
Door.
learning, a joy of learning. And I think that that's what both of you have is you always are enjoy the opportunity to learn new things. And I
Okay.
think that has to do with longevity as well. It'd be very interesting to read and understand the things of what longevity means in so many ways to like we see very successful big thing we're seeing now are 80-year-olds in the C-suite. I did a Google search because one of my clients, Dr. Ron Kaiser, is 87 and he's in the C-suite. How many 80-year-olds are in the C-suite? And you would be absolutely blown away to see the number of them because they still have something that's a purpose and a joy to get up each and every day, even though you're more pain, you've lost a lot of your different mindset. I think our mindset on aging is finally making a turn for the best that people are interested in learning from your mom. They're interested in learning from what aging is and not make it a death sentence anymore. Because at one point in time when we got old, we couldn't wait to die. That's honestly the way it was historically. Now people are finding their purpose and everything. Last thing in longevity, uh, Marty, what okay, we've covered everything. I think that you've talked about all these different things, and wow, you're smart as a tack at 96, and I just am blown away. But tell me, what is the last component of longevity we could discuss today?
Good fuel.
I I just have to go to the word love.
Yeah. Oh, that's what we were talking about. Love. So that's having family around, all those different things. They talk about the blue zones and how people in the blue zones, they live for a lot longer because there's so much family around and they're not left alone. But for
Okay.
you, it's love. Even if you're having a phone call with a loved one, staying in touch with loved ones, that is, if you don't have love in your life, family, friends, there's not a purpose to get up.
Yes.
And
But,
that's
but I need to add once again, I'm blessed with 4 amazing children. I mean, 3 daughters and 1 son. I mean, how many people have that kind of a blessing? They're all so special. So my cup runneth over, I guess I say.
absolutely.
And Neil,
All
you can't work on an empty cup. And so, and she feeds her soul is another great phrase that you use, because I mean, she mentioned on the farm with her natural whole grain foods, but she eats clean. She uh there's very little, I don't think I've seen any processed food ever in this house. So the eating is done well, but she feeds her soul. I mean, you feed your soul with love, you feed your soul with your movement, with your outdoors.
And reading history or classics like The Little Prince. I mean, Saint-Exupéry's book. It's just there's so many treasures out there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and our life has passed by so fast. And a lot of us have never had the time to
No
sit
doubt.
down and pick up one of those wonderful classics. And
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
that's talk about opportunity. There you go.
Yeah.
Getting
So I really enjoyed this. Laura, she is a gem. Oh my goodness. It was such a great interview. We can go to successwithlaura.com to schedule a call with you and learn about and Marty, you are somebody we need to watch those components in our lives, especially if we're looking at for longevity, follow your methods and people can live a longer, happier life. So, Laura, anything else to add before this interview's over?
No, we're very grateful. And I'm
All
so
right.
happy that she could share.
All right. That
Thank you,
You're
Neil.
welcome. That was a special sound.